All right, so this video was posted in my Discord. Again, if you haven't joined the Discord, make sure you do that. There'll be a link in the description. It is seriously, I think it might be the biggest weight loss and fat loss Discord that they have. We have over almost 6,000 members now. So make sure you join that because it's been an awesome community and it's super, super helpful. And if you guys do want me to watch a video or talk about a video on one of these streams, that is where you go do that. There is a reaction requests channel where you can shoot your videos in there, and hopefully I will take a look at it on the stream. But with that being said, this video was posted in the Discord. The name of this video is called A Perspective on Fat Loss. James Smith, and it's a TEDx Bundaberg from Bundaberg. So this came out in December of 2019. And I did watch this already because I was kind of curious as to what it was, and I think that it is really interesting. So what the video seems to be mainly about, so you guys kind of understand, is it's mainly about women and fat loss and why it's maybe more difficult or different for women versus men, right? And I know a lot of people might hear that and be like, I don't know about that. I would just encourage you to watch the whole video with me, and then I'll kind of give my thoughts as well. Okay, so let's watch this video again. A Perspective on Fat Loss by James Smith.
So the reason that I made this talk, and I titled it The Final Word, was to do with the fact that I don't want this to be a subject that I'm going to talk about and for people in the audience to have no idea what it's about. I want this to become mainstream. I want this to become general chit-chat that people know, that people understand. Some of the things that I'm going to talk about today are going to make people's quality of life quite simply better. Now, I don't have the power in the next 18 minutes to make any of you leave this room more muscular, or to make any of you leave this room in better shape or leaner. But what
I do have that power if you go to the Discord.
can do is get you guys to walk through those doors having a better understanding of maybe your partner's physique, your partner's physiology, or your own physiology. And that's some pretty powerful stuff. So, Fat Loss Simplified. If I was going to break it down into something really easy to understand, I'd say, mate, you need to move a bit more, you need to eat a bit less. Thank you, Bundaberg, you've been a great crowd, thank you. Unfortunately, it's not quite that simple, and it does go a little bit further on. So for any of you out there that are wondering how it occurs, I often relate to a bank account analogy. If you were to spend more than you were to earn, you'd be pretty pissed off if there wasn't money left in the bank, in your savings. And our body treats it very much the same. Should we be earning more than we spend, reaccrue finances or fat gain for times that we maybe don't have quite so much money?
I like that he brings up this. I like that he brings up this analogy. You know, when it comes to when it comes to fat loss, like being a bank account, right? For most of the time, when we think about money, we want to have more money in the bank than we are spending. But when it comes to fat loss and weight loss, if you're thinking of money as calories, right? You want to actually be spending more than you actually have in the bank. Not good financial advice, but good advice if you are trying to lose weight, right?
If we wish to lose fat, we need to flip that on its head. We need to make sure that we spend more than we earn. And this creates something called a calorie deficit. Now, that in itself is how it occurs, but there are other things at play which we're going to talk about today. Before getting into that, it's important.
All right, I see everyone talking about the volume of him. I have it as loud as I can make it.
Should you exceed that, you go into what's known as a surplus. Should you not hit that, you go into something known as a deficit. So when I talk about these things throughout the talk, it's very important that you understand what those are. I had a conundrum through my coaching, through my personal training time. I qualified, like everyone else. Yet the things I'm speaking about today, I was never taught. I was allowed to go onto the personal training floor, into the gym. I was allowed to work with dozens of females. And no one ever told me this, and I was left to find it out myself. And that part is really the problem with all of this. And over the years, working with now several thousand clients at a time, I came to a conclusion. The physiological differences between genders when it comes to fat loss are too big to be overlooked by coaches, trainers, or women aspiring to better their physique and performance.
So when he first said that, I was like, I don't know about that. You know, I was kind of skeptical. So again, let's just keep going.
And that's what I'm going to be talking about today. The facts at a glance. Should a man or woman create the same deficit, they will lose the same amount of fat. Cool. However, it will take approximately 33% longer for a female to burn the same amount of calories. Cool. There are many more factors at play outside simply eating less and moving more when it comes to sustainable fat loss, especially in women.
Just to interrupt the video real quick, I just wanted to let you guys know I have been streaming on Twitch as well. I'm still going to be streaming here, but if you want to make sure you don't miss those and you want to go subscribe to me on Twitch, I just got the following and I just got the subscription thing, so I'm an affiliate. So if you want to subscribe over there, I would really, really appreciate it. Or if you just want to follow, obviously that's totally cool as well. I will link it down in the description. Thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. So basically what he said there is that for men and women, if you are in the same deficit, you will lose weight, right? But for women, it takes more work to be in that deficit, right? So let's go back to the actual slide. So it says, should a male and female both create the same caloric deficit, they will lose the same amount of fat. Okay, I believe in that fact. It will take approximately 33% longer for a female to burn that amount of calories. Now, there are a lot of different reasons why that is, but a big part of it is just size and muscle mass, right? The more muscle you have, the bigger you are, the faster you are going to burn calories. So I know that that's one of the things. Then he goes into some of the other things. And the last thing, there are many more factors at play outside of simply eating less and moving more when it comes to a woman's fat loss. Let's keep going.
Cool. There are many more factors at play outside simply eating less and moving more when it comes to sustainable fat loss, especially in...
So I see someone say point 2 is confusing. So trust me, he explains that one a lot.
women. There's simple implications for couples that I don't think we're really talking about. If you ever see me at a restaurant when I'm out with my friends, I never look at the menu. I look at the people around me, and I'll wait for them to pick. Because the worst thing that can occur is for them to pick something, me to pick something separate, their food to come, and me to want what they're having. So instead, I wait, whatever my friends, my family, whatever they have, I go, yeah, I'm having the same thing, especially if they pick a restaurant. For a couple, if this is to occur, that means that both parties are going to be consuming the same amount of calories. And I'm not saying that I think we need menus for women and menus for men. We just need to have this as a consideration. This
is something that a lot of us have seen in practice, right? Like we see like dudes that lose a lot of weight, or think about The Biggest Loser, right? It took how many seasons? For them to actually have a female that won, right? Like guys lose weight faster than women. That's a fact, right? That's like something that we all can agree that is a thing, right? No one's going to dispute that. But why is that, right? That's what this video is about. Why does that happen?
This also means, in a time perspective, that if a couple are sharing the journey to the gym, the male does a 1 hour workout, he looks at his partner, I'm off. She goes, I need half an hour. Why do you need half an hour? To burn the same amount of calories as you, because I ate the same meal as you last night. These are things that just aren't being thought about. Here we have the menstrual cycle. I've not had one, certainly not yet, but I'm going to be talking you through it today.
Same here. And so again, I don't know much about this stuff, and I'm not trying to act like I do, okay?
Average menstrual cycle is 28 days long. In the middle, we have ovulation. The first part of the cycle is known as the follicular phase. The latter part is known as the luteal phase. And I'm probably doing the menstrual cycle a disservice if I was to say there's a good side and a bad side. The follicular phase is the good side. The luteal phase is more the bad side. In the middle, ovulation, just before, women have a spike in testosterone. It's where their best gym performances typically occur.
So that's really important. So he said right before you ovulate is when your best gym performances occur, right? And so he is. We were talking about that earlier in the stream where someone was like, "Man, I feel like sometimes one of the women were like, I feel like I'm much stronger in the gym, then sometimes I feel just weaker." Like this could explain part of that.
And to be crass, it's where they typically get the horniest, and it's because they are the most fertile part of the menstrual cycle. So lads in the room, take note.
I don't want anyone in the chat saying anything about that part.
After menstruation, hit ovulation. After ovulation, we start to move towards the end of the cycle. Towards the end of the cycle, the latter days, some women suffer with PMS. Now, putting that out there, oversimplifying it, that's fine. But there are considerations that we have to make whilst doing this. Measurements and metrics.
So this is a great comment. Why am I learning more about menstruation in an O2B stream than I did in school? I will say you're learning more from this guy than you are from me, but I think that's kind of what he talks about, is that it's crazy that this stuff isn't more common knowledge, right? I think it's crazy that this stuff isn't more common knowledge. That's why I wanted to share it with you guys.
If we were to say that you have a 4-week cycle, too many females are measuring themselves week on week, which means they're measuring different physiologies. This means that between week 1 and week 2, between week 2 and week 3, between week 3 and week 4, 4 separate sets of measurements, 4 separate sets of circumferences, no consideration to different physiologies across those. If you're going to make measurements, you must do it in line with the menstrual cycle. Week 1, week 1, week 2, week 2, week 3, week 3, because changes outside of your control with your physiology.
This comment right here. So when a woman in my spin class says she got a PR, I should say you're probably ovulating. Maybe don't say that. Or maybe do, I don't know.
Physiology can have a massive impact on fluctuations in weight and circumference. You are measuring changes in your physiology and you are beating yourself up about them. And that needs to be taken into consideration. Cravings and metabolic rate. In the luteal phase, the average woman will burn between 1 and 300 calories more a day. And in that period, women trying to stick to their existing diet or calorie amount without considerations for these increases in metabolic rate often end up binging, and the average woman eats about 500 calories more. Again, there's no knowledge surrounding these. And there's decreases in performance. Throughout the luteal phase, especially in PMS, women can see a decrease in performance where they might only be able to lift 60% of what they usually lift.
That's crazy to me. I don't know. Again, I don't know too much about this information, so I'm just believing what this guy is saying, which maybe isn't the best. But the fact that there is a chance that you could be 60% weaker just because you're in a certain stage of your ovulation is insane to me. Like, that's crazy.
They're at their highest chance of injury and their highest chance of dislocations. Yet again, as a personal trainer, why was no one telling me this? We need to think about when we start a diet. Are we aligning it with our menstrual cycle? If you start a diet just after ovulation, you are going into the toughest time to restrict calories, the toughest times to train, the toughest times to stick to a deficit. You are literally starting a diet at the wrong time.
So it's interesting. So what he's saying right there is because after you ovulate and stuff, right? Like he was saying you struggle more with binging, you struggle more with, this is his words, right? He says women tend to struggle more with binging, tend to struggle more with cravings, tend to struggle more with maybe eating more. So starting a diet right at that moment is going to be exponentially harder than maybe starting it at a different point. And the reason why this could be a little bit more difficult too is that if you are starting at that point and you feel like you fail immediately, right? It's going to be really hard to want to continue that diet. But if you were to start, maybe 3 weeks before that, you had already built up 3 weeks of solid habits before you get into that phase, then it's a lot easier for you to say, okay, no, I'm going to make this decision. I'm not going to eat that thing even though I want it, right? So I think that's kind of what he's talking about here.
If you were to just give yourself a couple more weeks, you can start kicking with the wind. Again, why is no one talking about this? Why is this not something, hey, I'm thinking of starting this diet. Okay, is this a good time in your menstrual cycle for you to do so? Do we diet all the time? Well, no, we don't need to. And if we think about it like this, if you suffer very badly in the second part of your menstrual cycle, why not just diet for the first 2 weeks where things are good, where you can control your cravings, where you can perform in the gym? As I spoke about, if you stay at maintenance, you cannot gain negative weight because you're at maintenance. And a diet that you stick to for 2 weeks in every month is going to trump a diet where you don't stick to it at all. And we need to be thinking about this long term. And how do we manage our cycle? James, you just told me that there's an increase in my metabolic rate between 1 and 300 calories. Could I program 3 pieces of fruit a day during that period of my menstrual cycle on top of my existing diet just to manage my cravings? Again, things that people aren't thinking about. And again, if there's an increase in metabolic rate, that's not a surplus. You would still be in a deficit by eating more.
So what he's talking about there is that at certain parts of the menstrual cycle, you might be burning more calories, right? And then I think he goes a little bit into it, but, talking about your NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, you might be, or just your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, might be a little bit higher. And so because your body is doing so much stuff inside of yourself and you are in turn burning a few more calories, and so maybe you can eat a little bit more. Maybe you don't have to be in as steep of a deficit at that time, right? Again, I know that this is all like you'd have to be really in tune with all of this stuff, but it is interesting to at least hear about it, right? That's kind of where I'm coming from with sharing this with you guys. This is very interesting to me. So I was like, you know what? This video I think would be interesting to you guys because believe it or not, my following is 75% female. So there are 75% of the people watching this that are in the stream, that are watching this on YouTube, you're female, right? And so I'm not sitting here trying to mansplain this to you and be like, this is what it is, but I just think that this is really interesting.
Polycystic ovary syndrome, again, is something that needs to be spoken about and needs to be understood by people. PCOS is what's commonly known as, and it has a big impact in fat loss. Here I can show you the total daily energy expenditure components. These blocks are what make up the energy we burn in a day. Our BMR is the amount of energy we burn at rest, which is a considerable amount. Our NEAT is the amount that we burn through being active that's not planned training. If you opt to take the stairs instead of the elevator or walk up an elevator, you increase your NEAT component. Your TEF is your thermic effect of feeding. Eating a high protein diet means you burn more calories through your body having to work harder to break down protein. And EAT at the top is our gym-based exercise.
Okay, so everything that he just said, I agree with, okay? So look how crazy this is. So this is the amount of your TDEE, right? We've talked about this before, your total daily energy expenditure. So basically, this is the percent of how many calories you burn in a day, okay? And so look at 70% of that is just your BMR. So what your BMR can also be explained as is what I like to call coma calories, right? So if you were stuck in a bed all day, couldn't move, you would still burn about 70% of your daily calories, right? This is going to be a little bit different for everyone because some people, if you're going on cycling and you're doing 4-hour cycling things, then your EAT is going to be your exercise something training. I forget exactly what this stands for, but that's going to be higher. But for the most part, your BMR is going to be the highest amount of calories that you burn, right? Percentage wise. And then your NEAT, which is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So this is me standing here flailing my arms everywhere. When you're like tapping your foot on the desk, when you're going upstairs, when you have to go to the bathroom. So you walk to the bathroom, right? That's your NEAT, your NEAT. and then your thermic effect of food. So this is how many calories it takes to burn the food that you ate, right? And he kind of talks about it. One of the reasons why people recommend a high protein diet when people are trying to lose weight is because it takes more energy to burn the protein, so that your thermic effect of food is bigger, and therefore you are in more of a deficit. And then look how small the amount of what you're doing in the gym actually accounts to your TDEE. This is why I talk about so much about weight loss happens in the kitchen, fitness happens in the gym. Do not try and lose weight based on this. It's pointless, right? Like, it's not the way to go. Okay, sorry.
So as you can see, we don't burn as many calories in the gym as a lot of people think. There are other components outside of that are much more important. How does that relate to PCOS? PCOS has shown to reduce people's BMR from 14 to 40%. 40% for a second is something we need to take into account.
That's unbelievable. 14 to 40% of your BMR. Remember, your BMR is 70% of the amount of calories that you burn in a day, okay? 40%. Now, I'm assuming most people probably aren't up in that high range, but still, even if it's 20%, that's still noticeable, right?
That is more calories than 4 gym sessions in a day. And why aren't people talking about it?
Someone asked, what does BMR stand for? BMR stands for basal metabolic rate.
You can make all the efforts by increasing your NEAT by taking the stairs. You can increase your thermic effect of feeding by increasing the amount of protein in your diet, and you can start training in the gym. But if you do not have considerations for PCOS, then unfortunately you are fighting a battle and you are going to lose that battle.
So Angelica said, so you're saying my BMR could be even lower because of my PCOS? Yes, it can be, but just continue watching because he's going to talk a little bit about what you can do. Okay? So don't feel like you have nothing, there's no hope for you, because there is.
Polycystic ovary syndrome affects 6 to 21% of women. That is huge. That's 1 in 5. There are potentially women out there that are going to need to diet on less than 1,000 calories a day to lose fat. But mainstream knowledge about nutrition, about menstrual cycles, about physiology is so poor across populations that people go, that's too low. And people chip in and go, you actually need to be eating more to lose fat.
Oh my gosh. When people say that, when people say you need to eat more calories to lose weight and you're already eating, like you already are at 1,000 calories, I'm like, it's not how it works. It's just not how it works.
They don't. That doesn't make sense. That defies everything we know about fat loss. You need 2 out of 3 of the symptoms here. Hyperantigenism, which is an increase in hormones including testosterone, actual cysts on your ovaries, or an irregular or discontinued menstrual cycle, which is known as amenorrhea or oligomenorrhea. Any 2 of those in your polycystic ovary syndrome. And again, this is something we need to talk about. Much more prevalent in the obese. PCOS is something that is going to hinder fat loss, and it's most prevalent in the people that need it the most.
This is very important. So make sure you're listening to what he's saying right here. So PCOS is much more prevalent in the obese, okay? Which sucks because a lot of what you can do to help mitigate the effects of PCOS is to lose weight. But now you are at a position where losing weight is going to be a little bit more difficult. So just listen to what he's saying.
Exercise, a low GI diet, and fat loss are the best solutions to treat symptoms. And this is with insulin resistance as well. Exercise is always going to be something we should be prescribing to people with any condition. And the same goes, low GI diet. This should happen when striving for a deficit most of the time anyway. And fat loss is always our main priority. Rather than looking for special foods, special diets, it just has to be fat loss. And reduction of calories is going to be key to begin with.
I agree.
We need to be pragmatic when it comes to periods. Pragmatic means dealing with things sensibly and realistically in a way that is based on practical rather than theoretical considerations. Theoretically, you might go, yeah, I'm going to diet 4 weeks of every month. But in practice, that may not be the case you can do it.
So one thing that I think is important that I didn't finish this whole video, I'm not sure if he talks about, but with PCOS, and I actually talked to my girlfriend about this, and she was at one point diagnosed with PCOS. So if you guys don't know, my girlfriend has lost over 100 pounds, and she's kept it off for a significant amount of time, a few years now. And so at one point she was diagnosed with PCOS without ever getting any blood work done, without them ever looking at her ovaries, because she did have irregular periods, and she did have one of the other things. I forget which one it was, but it wasn't that she had cysts on her ovaries, because she doesn't. But so that I think a lot of people might think they have PCOS when they don't actually have it, and I think that that's important as well. That was one thing that my girlfriend was telling me. She thinks that there are a lot of women that have been told that they might have PCOS because doctors have seen their symptoms, when in reality there might be a host of other issues where it's not actually PCOS. So there are a lot of people that might not have PCOS that might think they do, and in return, because they've heard weight loss is harder if you have PCOS. Maybe they're not trying. Maybe it's harder. Maybe they feel like it's actually harder for them to lose weight. And we've all heard of placebo, right? If what you think can be true, and so you think that it's harder for you to lose weight, therefore in your mind it is harder, and therefore you don't try as hard, right? I'm not saying everyone that says they have PCOS does it, but I'm sure there are a good amount of people that might think they have it when they might actually have other hormonal issues, ones that I don't know anything about. So I'm not trying to say I understand all of that, but I'm just saying there might be people that think they have PCOS that have other issues instead.
You might go, I'm going to smash my gym training session on every week of every part of my cycle, but again, you might only be able to do it for 2 or 3 weeks. And then after that, you may have to put yourself on machines and do some high rep stuff. You may be susceptible to poor coordination. It must be taken into mind. Every woman in this room is to become her very best own scientist. And it is...
Oh, dude, that is so good. That it's not even just women, right? Every person should become their best scientist. Like, try things for yourself. I've said it so many times. Become your own science experiment. Try things out. If you don't like it, then move on, right? It is so helpful if you're willing to try things out for yourself to see what happens. But the thing is become your own scientist, right? Make sure you are writing down how you're feeling. Make sure you're writing things down. Don't just kind of be like, oh, I didn't like that, I'm going to try something else, right? Take the time to write that data down and see how your body reacts to things.
Is essential. You cannot Google or look on the internet to find out more about your own menstrual cycle because it is yours and it's unique, and it's not the same as the person sitting next to you, especially if that's a man. Physique expectations at the moment surround skinny culture. It surrounds being slim, and I don't like this. You have to stop glorifying that as the top of fitness and the highest thing you can accomplish. At the end of the day, we can either fight physiology or society. And if you fight your physiology to try and be as skinny as you can, you will lose that battle. However, if we fight society, we have a chance. We have the ability to try and push people back on moving the goalposts, moving the jumpers that have been put down as to where we should be aiming. The future of physique expectations to me are that strong is going to overtake skinny. Weight gain is not only cyclical, and when I say cyclical, as you can see with the diagram, it's up and down. This happens. For you to think that weight gain is not cyclical is naive. It's normal. And I put a little Santa emoji there, because if you didn't gain weight at Christmas, I don't know what you were doing at Christmas, but it wasn't the same as the rest of the world.
This is so good. Like, I haven't gotten to this point of the video yet, so this is my first time seeing this part, but so many people get so hyper focused on 5 pounds of weight, right? That I gained 5 pounds, or I lost 5 pounds, or whatever, right? Like, so many people get so caught up on these little like fluctuations when it is super like normal for your weight to go up and down. Like, it is completely normal for that to happen.
Weight gain is not a problem. The problem sits within people not knowing or fully understanding the processes after the weight gain to lose it in a sustainable and adherable manner. Today, this talk is about understanding different parts of your cycle, understanding different parts of your physiology, and understanding conditions that will be hindering your progress. Empowerment, which is what these talks are about. The definition is the authority or power given to someone to do something.
All right, so sorry for the cutoff there. The YouTube copyright claimed the stream because I was using that video. But basically, like, what I think is really important, and why I wanted to share this with you guys is because I think that it is really important to understand that there are differences between men and women. Now, whether or not like those are, like, I think that they're overcomable and that you can overcome them, and but I just think that it's important to at least acknowledge that there is a genuine difference. There is a genuine, something to at least think about, to at least be like, okay, well, there is a genuine difference here, and what can we do about that, right? And so that's kind of why I wanted to share that with you guys.
Obey the warning signs, and when there are flashing lights or wigwags, don't attempt to cross until they come to a complete stop.